Ladies and gentlemen, the next great impossible port for the Nintendo Switch 2 is officially here, and that is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Truly one of the best games I think I've ever played. Definitely one of the best games in the last few years. And the fact that it's on the Switch 2 now has me scratching my head, but in a good way. So we're going to review the game, and we're going to find out if it's worth it for you or not. Let's go and get right into this video.
He was very, very good.
Senor, nobody has come out of there alive. Please.
Yeah, that's right. Another impossible port on the Switch 2. Eventually, we just gotta say, the Switch 2 can really hold its own. Now, this is one game that was rumored for a long time, though. I think even like, as soon as the game came out, I know it was on Xbox first, but I think as soon as it came over to the PlayStation 5, we started hearing rumors about a possible Switch 2 port, and I played this game on the PlayStation 5. And once I played it on the PlayStation 5, I thought, I don't know, this one's going to be tricky, but it's here. And, we're about to do a review, but if you want to click off now, I can tell you guys, it is definitely worth it. So before we get started, if you could, hit a like and subscribe. That would truly mean the world to me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep these communities growing, and let's just go and get right into this one. So what is this game even about, right? You will uncover one of history's greatest mysteries in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is a first-person, single-player adventure set between the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. And I gotta tell you guys right away, right? I'm a huge cinephile, or whatever the hell they're called. I watch movies almost daily, old movies, new movies. I have never seen an Indiana Jones movie. That's like blasphemy, right? I really need to change that. But allegedly, or not even allegedly, this game takes place between two of those movies. The year is 1937. Sinister forces are scouring the globe for the secret to an ancient power connected to the Great Circle, and the only person who can stop them is Indiana Jones. So quickly, before we get into, I guess, the Switch 2 review, I do want to talk about my experience on the PlayStation 5, because that's where my review is going to come from, right? It's going to be a comparison, even though I don't want to do that, to the PlayStation 5 version, because that was my first experience. Now, there are going to be millions of people, I'm sure, who are only playing this on the Switch 2 and will not compare it to the PlayStation 5, or I guess even the Xbox. But I think, sometimes when you compare a game on one console to another, it can make you jaded, or it can leave you with a cloud of judgment. It actually enhances this review, because every time, whether I'm consciously doing it or not, I compare it to the PlayStation 5 version, I keep saying, wow, this is crazy that you can play this on a handheld console. But I played it on the PlayStation 5. It might have actually been the very first game I beat in 2026, so, my experience is very fresh. But it was a game that I could not stop playing, right? It's just one of those games that you're going to fall in love with. Every now and again, one of these games will come along, and that was my experience on the PlayStation 5. And on the PlayStation 5, zero problems. So that's why I keep coming back and comparing it to the PlayStation 5 version, because, Bethesda is, they're Bethesda, and there's that quote-unquote Bethesda jank. And we got Skyrim, and we got Fallout on the Switch 2, and some of those came good, some of those came bad and then were fixed. But right out of the gate, man, this is probably Bethesda's best port on the Switch 2 so far. The graphics and performance, in my opinion, are fantastic. Now, if you're a frame rate snob, that's something you gotta deal with yourself. But as far as I know, the game is locked at 30 frames per second. To me, this is not a big deal, right? Especially with this kind of game where you're kind of sneaking around and exploring. Now, if it was 60 frames per second or even 40 frames per second, which is something maybe they can update in the future, that would be cool. But I think 30 frames per second with a little bit better graphics, I think it's a fair trade-off. Now, some of the things you will notice on the Nintendo Switch 2 is there is some pop-in, actually quite a bit sometimes. Now, you got to remember that this game is probably going to get some updates pretty quickly, like a day one update, maybe some other updates as well. But there is some pop-in here and there. You might notice it when you're exploring like the Vatican area, or when you're exploring some jungles. And as far as I know, when you are exploring in some jungles, I think, and I'm sure people can confirm this, but they definitely removed some foliages, right? Like some of the trees are not as dense, and it seems like some of the grass is a little bit different. And then the textures are a little bit lower, obviously, than the PlayStation 5 version. But man, going back and being able to play this on a handheld console, it is such a fair trade-off. Another thing that you will notice if you played it on the PlayStation 5, and I'm sure the Xbox as well, is they definitely removed some of the NPCs. Now this is just something personally I thought, but I don't think the NPCs really added too much to the actual experience, even playing on the PS5. And I'm not talking about the enemies or like some random NPCs that will say a line here or there. You'll walk by some NPCs maybe in like the Egypt level, and they're like saying the same quotes over and over about like, my shop is open, or something else happened, and you're like, okay, that's cool. Like, the NPCs are cool, right? They add to the charm of the game. But I think removing some of those NPCs, it truly does nothing to the experience. Now I've been talking a lot about the experience on the Switch 2 compared to the PlayStation 5, but you know, this is me just talking. So what I would like to do now is show you some actual video comparisons of the PS5 to the Switch 2. And like I said, if you're only playing on the Switch 2, then who the hell cares? But if you played on the PS5 and you're thinking about getting the Switch 2 edition, it's just nice to see a comparison. So yeah, you can see right away it's like a little bit more crisp on the PlayStation 5, and you have to remember this is a jungle area where, I mean, there's just so much going on, right? Now I don't know if this is true or not, but I think I read somewhere that like foliage and like jungle and trees is pretty heavy on the performance. So sometimes you'll see like almost like a small cut or a jump, it seems like, when you're coming out of a cutscene on the Switch 2 compared to the PlayStation 5. And then again, you're going to be able to see the frame rate difference, right? I'm pretty sure on the PlayStation 5 it was 60 frames per second opposed to the Switch 2's 30 frames per second. But especially when you're playing handheld, you know, the screen's right up to your face. You're like, man, this looks incredible. And then depending on what kind of monitor or TV you have and you're playing docked to the TV, again, you're going to say, this looks incredible, man. I know we've got a couple of quote unquote impossible ports, but this is a game I didn't even know how remotely possible it was going to be. And they just did an incredible job on this port. It looks so damn good. So right there, you were seeing there like lifting up a tree, and then a small cutscene was starting. You might have been able to see what I was talking about, where it's like a tiny jump coming in or out of a cutscene. Yeah, it's just something that you're going to notice. Honestly, one way the Switch 2 is going to be able to keep like punching up is that DLSS, man. That upscaling, it does magical wonders for the Switch 2. So comparing this footage to the PlayStation 5, like I said, to me, I just think it makes it even so much more impressive to be able to do that. Now, I don't want to spoil like the story and everything, because, you know, that's an important part of this game. It's not like it's the craziest thing to spoil. You're Indiana Jones. You need to go do some cool archaeological badass stuff. But I will describe the gameplay a little bit, because essentially the gameplay is a mix of action, stealth, and puzzles. You don't have to sneak around, right? But it is fun to sneak around because you can essentially pick up any item in the game, and I'm talking about anything, and bonk somebody in the head with it, throw it at somebody, throw a bottle, a shovel. Obviously you have your whip, but there's so many things you can pick up, and it's so fun to sneak around and crack somebody in the head. Now, the puzzles, man, I am a huge Zelda fan, right? It's my favorite franchise. I don't even know if I've ever looked up a guide for a Zelda puzzle in my entire life. I'm sure I probably have, but I just can't remember. But there were multiple times in this game where I had to look up guides for the puzzles because they're difficult. They're just so well made, right? Now, one thing to talk about in this game, which is crazy, especially when you compare it to other Bethesda games on the Switch 2. This game is fully on the cartridge, right? If this would have been a game key card, we would have said, oh man, that sucks, but it is what it is, and everybody would have bought it, and nobody probably would have even questioned why. If I can find the download size on the PlayStation 5, I'll put it on the screen. I'm sure it's over 64 gigabytes, but on the Nintendo Switch 2, it clocks in like right at 60 gigabytes, or maybe it's like 59.5 or something. So this game is fully on the cartridge, and I just think that's amazing. So I really hope people who are interested in this really go out and purchase that and show publishers this is what we want to buy. We want true physical games, right? As far as me recommending this game, 100% I recommend it. And as far as it being a port on the Switch 2, I give it like a 9 out of 10, right? There's a couple things that I would like to see, but I don't know how game development goes, and I could be asking for too much. But yeah, 9 out of 10 port, 100% I recommend it. And if you're on the fence about getting this, or you're thinking about getting it, I'm here to tell you to check it out. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? Because your opinion matters most. So in the comments below, I would love to hear from you guys. If you're picking up this game, if you've already played it, do you like Indiana Jones? Just start a conversation. And if you made it to this part of the video, if you could do me a favor, hit a like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep the communities growing, and consider becoming a channel member. We have 21. I want to get to 25 because we are officially streaming weekly now. So be on the lookout for that. And you guys know me. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace.